words to our session. So now, without further delay, it's my honor to invite our distinguished guest speaker, Professor Dr. Jereon Dewulf, to deliver his lecture on biosecurity as a tool to to enhance health and reduce AMR in poultry productions. So now it's over to you, Dr. Jereon. Thank you very much for joining.
Okay, thank you. And I will share my screen. Just check to see whether you have the full screen. Okay, good. Okay, so yeah, thank you for the invitation. It's an honor to be here with you guys and to talk about biosecurity and the importance of biosecurity in poultry production, also linked to the reduction of antimicrobial usage and antimicrobial resistance. So first of all, what is biosecurity? So maybe it's important to start with a good definition, because lots of people are talking about biosecurity, but sometimes we have different ideas in our mind. And the definition I prefer to use is this one. So it's the application of a set of management, behavioral and physical measures designed to reduce the risk of introduction, establishment, and spread of pathogens to, within, and from an animal population. So it's a mouthful of words. So it's about avoiding or reducing the risk of introduction, establishment, and spread of pathogens from a population. And that population can be many different populations. It can be a farm, it can be a region, can be a country, it can be an entire continent. But we are going to focus, or at least in my presentation, I'm going to focus at the farm level. So what is the biosecurity measures we can address at farm level, and how can we show that they are really beneficial, that they have positive effects? And also it's about management and physical measures, so the cleaning and disinfection, the movement of animals, all kinds of management measures, but also about behavioral. And I want to emphasize this: biosecurity is really about attitudes of people. It's about things that are people doing or not doing in the farms, which will result in either risks or prevent risks of disease transmission. So that behavioral component is really very important when it comes to biosecurity. Typically, we will split the biosecurity into two components: external and internal biosecurity. So the external is everything we do to keep the pathogens out of the farm. And the internal biosecurity is everything we do to avoid that pathogens will spread within the farm, from one age group to another age group, or the different groups, the different production units in the farm, amongst which pathogens may be transmitted. So biosecurity is the basis, or at least it should be the basis of any disease control program. It's really the fundament. And on top of that fundament, you can add preventive measures, such as feed additives, water additives, obviously vaccines are all good preventive tools. But you need to first have a good, strong fundament of biosecurity. And if we do those biosecurity measures and preventive measures well, we can largely reduce the need of treatments and the need of antibiotics, where we treat sick animals, actually. So really, that basis is so important. And I always compare it with building a house. If you build a house, you need a strong fundament. And if you want to build a big house on a very weak, on a very narrow fundament, sooner or later, your house will collapse. That's the same with biosecurity. If you want to have big farms, and increasingly, and especially in poultry production, increasingly more we have these big production units. If they are built upon narrow or upon weak biosecurity measures, the things will collapse. So that's really what we need to avoid. So why is biosecurity important? Well, we definitely think about these epidemic diseases, avian influenza and other important epidemic diseases that are spreading from one country to another, from one farm to another. But of course, we also have endemic diseases, zoonotic diseases. We have Salmonella, we have Campylobacter, we have the coccidiosis problem, the Enterococcus problem in the broiler production. And so there's plenty of, I would say, the daily pathogens that are causing problems, causing a lot of economic impact. Then we have, of course, the reduction of antimicrobial usage, which is absolutely needed in order to be able to reduce the problem of antimicrobial resistance. And finally, we have the sustainability and the sustainability of the infection, of the production of the infection prevention. And so also here, it is important to realize that in the production of the future, for any type of animal production, the carbon footprint of what we produce will become increasingly more important. And you might think, well, what has all of this to do with biosecurity? Well, actually, biosecurity is a component that contributes, that helps to address all of these challenges. It's not a wonder, it's not a miracle solution that gets rid of all the challenges at once, but at least biosecurity will contribute to the solution. If we want to control avian influenza, we need better biosecurity. If we want to control zoonotic diseases, we need better biosecurity. If we want to reduce antimicrobial usage, we need better biosecurity. Even for the sustainability, if we want to improve the sustainability, this is a recent study from the FAO that has said, what are the tools we have to improve the sustainability of animal production? Well, 2 out of the 3 solutions, being increased productivity and improved animal health, are actually components that are achieved or that are aimed for by improved biosecurity. So it's through better biosecurity that we can get to more sustainable production systems. So all of these are actually important. So biosecurity, when we invest into biosecurity, you're actually investing into solutions for many different problems, for many different things together. So is biosecurity important? Yes, it is. In the next part of my presentation, I would like to zoom in a little bit into the principles of biosecurity. What are the basic concepts of good biosecurity? And the first one is that we have to think about how diseases are spread, how they are transmitted from one bird to the next. And then we have to think about direct contacts and indirect contacts. And the direct contacts between diseased animals and susceptible animals are by far the most efficient. So this is the easiest way to transmit diseases. You put in sick animals in a group of healthy animals, and you will have spread of disease. So that when we think about biosecurity, the measures to avoid direct contacts between sick animals and healthy animals will be definitely very important. But also these indirect contacts, and you have many of them, the transport of trucks, vehicles, people, food, water, vermin, all these indirect contacts, they are a little bit lesser efficient, but they are very frequent and very diverse in its occurrence, and therefore they also become important in the disease transmission. So what we really want to do is we want to separate susceptible animals that are typically in the clean zone of the farm and the potential sources of infection that are typically outside the farm, that are in the dirty zone. And we want to keep those separated as much as possible. And to do so, we will build a wall in between them. But unfortunately, this wall cannot be 100%. Sometimes we have to go in, and we cannot keep animals without people going into the animal facilities from time to time, without water going in, feed going in, air going in. So anything that is going into the farm, we need to take biosecurity measures. We need to take measures to prevent or to reduce the risk that introduction also brings in a pathogen. What these measures are will depend on the specific situation of the farm. And moreover, we have to do them again, as I said before, we have to do them consequently. Every time again, not only during the working days, but also in the weekend, not only when we have time, but also when there is a time pressure. And that's again, that comes to that human component, that human component in biosecurity is exceptionally big. So that is the first principle, that separation of the healthy and the susceptible healthy animals and the sources of infection. Second principle is that not every disease transmission route is equally as efficient. And here we have a number of different pathogens for poultry. Not going to go in detail, but I just want to show that not every pathogen is spreading in the same way. And that brings a ranking in the disease transmission. Some disease transmissions, for instance, through live animals or through drinking water or transport vehicles and persons, are more important and of higher risk compared to other disease transmission routes that have a lower risk and are lesser important. So we need to keep into consideration this ranking of the risks, because we often see that people put a lot of time and effort in reducing low risk transmission routes, and they ignore the high risk transmission route. So if you are an advisor on a poultry farm, think about what are the most efficient ways for pathogens to get in here, and where should I focus my measures first. Third principle is about the fact that biosecurity is not black and white. With that, I mean that we don't get to breed animals in entirely sterile production systems. We will reduce the infection pressure as much as possible. We will reduce the amount of pathogens present as much as possible. For instance, through a good cleaning and disinfection, which is an important component of the biosecurity, but we do not get it to zero. And it's important to realize that every step we take to reduce that infection pressure is an added value. And we simply need to get that infection pressure below a certain threshold where the immune system of the animals can still cope with it. And so that is also a part, it's about breaking the infection cycle, it's reducing the burden of the immune system of the animals. For my fourth principle, I have a question for you. And my question is, where is biosecurity the most important? Is it most important in large farms, in small farms or herds, or is it independent of the herd size? So I let you think about it. We don't have a voting tool here. When I do these presentations live, I ask people to raise their hands. But let me predict that the majority of you is thinking, well, biosecurity is independent of the herd size, because that is typically the answer I get when I ask this to audiences. Indeed, I see a hand raising, probably saying this is also what I mean, or unless you want to say something. No, well,
Yeah, it's independent of herd size.
Okay, that's the point. So I think the majority is thinking that. Well, let's look at this. If you are a goalkeeper in football or in soccer, whatever you call it, where is it going to be the most easiest to keep the balls out? Here in the left, in this little goal, or here in the right, in this very big goal? Where is it going to be most easiest to keep the balls out? Well, I think we probably all agree that it's going to be more easy to keep the balls out here in this little goal than it's going to be in the big goal. And that's actually the same with farms. So in contradiction to what you probably think, that it's independent of the farm size, it's not really the case. We really, in bigger farms, the risks are bigger. And why is that? Well, because bigger farms have more contacts. There's more farm workers there. There's more transport vehicles coming to the farm. There's more movements in and out of the farm. And simply there are more birds there. If that means that if a pathogen gets in, the likelihood that it will result in a productive spread of disease is higher if there's more birds than in a small farm. So with this, I don't want to say that biosecurity is not important in small farms. So I do understand everybody who thinks it's independent of the farm size, because they probably are thinking biosecurity is important everywhere, also in a small farm. And yes, indeed it is. It is important everywhere, also in the small farms, but in the big farms, it is even more important. Because the risk of things going wrong is higher, is bigger in these big farms, and you have to protect yourself from that risk. And so the bigger the farms are that are where you're working, that are producing poultry in your country, the more important biosecurity becomes. And that's why we talk more about biosecurity today than we did 20 years ago. And I'm quite convinced that within 20 years, we will also talk more about biosecurity than we do today. So there is really a big market for this. So size matters, the size of the farm really matters. Last principle, frequency also matters. And so the frequency with which risks are repeated is of importance. And let me illustrate this by an example. The example is about a feed truck. A feed truck that is coming to the farm every week. And that feed truck has a risk, a probability of 1 out of 1,000, 0.1%, that the truck brings a pathogen to your farm. So they will say, well, 0.1%, this is a very small risk. I really don't care so much about that small risk, so I will not bother. But my question is, the truck comes every week to your farm. What is the annual risk? What is the risk at the end of the year of that truck has brought a pathogen to your farm? So I'll let you think about it 1 second. And these are the calculations. So this is the formula of cumulative probabilities. And it turns out that at the end of the year, that probability that the truck brings in the pathogen to your farm has become 5%. So we moved from 0.1%, 1 out of 1,000, to 5%, which is 1 out of 20. And this is already a much bigger risk. So you have to realize that if you are repeating a certain activity, a certain action over and over again, this creates a cumulative risk, and therefore it becomes more important. So that's why we say frequency matters. Those things you are doing every day or multiple times a day are more important or more risky than those things you only do very seldomly. And that is a little bit counterintuitively, because typically people will spend more attention to the actions you take seldomly, the exceptions, and will spend lesser attention to the daily routines, where it should be the other way around. So these are the 5 basic principles of biosecurity. Not going to repeat them, but you see, once you've really understood these, and they're not complex, and you internalize them, it is quite easy to translate them into biosecurity measures at the farm. And to help you in doing so, we have developed a tool that measures the biosecurity, and which is called the biocheck, and it's important it's based on the idea. It's based on the idea that if you cannot measure it, you cannot improve it. So that's why we have developed this biocheck system to quantify the biosecurity, because once we've been able to quantify it, we can also improve it. And this is our website, the biocheck.ugent website. You can easily Google the website, and you can easily find it. And I have very good news for you guys. To use the system is totally for free. We have developed biocheck scoring tools, evaluation tools, to quantify the level of biosecurity for pigs, for cattle, for small ruminants, and for poultry, different poultry production systems. And you can use that system totally for free. It is based on the principles I've just said. I'm not going to repeat them. And for poultry, we have it available for free-range broilers, layers, for ducks, for backyard poultry, for laying hens, for broilers, for turkeys, and for breeders. So a lot of different poultry systems for which we have the biocheck system available. And later on, I'll show you several studies in which we've used the system and where it has shown to be effective and beneficial to use it. So we have the biocheck system for the different. If you use this, this is now an example for pig, but it doesn't really matter so much. For poultry, it looks very much the same. You will get a score between 0 and 100%. 0 meaning you don't take any biosecurity measure. 100% meaning you have the perfect biosecurity. And typically, we will find the farms being somewhere in between. Some components of the biosecurity, they're doing quite good. Other components of the biosecurity, and these you've seen them in red, they're doing rather poorly. And this report, this biocheck tool, this report, which you can generate for free, is really a starting point, is a good way to assess, to evaluate the full biosecurity application in the farm, and based on this, to start advising the farm on improvement of the biosecurity. So I really encourage all of you to use this system and to use it as a tool to help your farmers, your producers, to improve their biosecurity. So the system is used to compare scores between different farms, so compare scores between countries, but mainly to compare scores over time. We do the biocheck today. We're going to advise on a number of improvements, and we do the biocheck again within 6 months or within a year, and we see how the biosecurity has improved. And to do so, we need to take different risks also into account. So currently, we have the world's largest database on biosecurity, which close to 100,000 records, very close to that 100,000 records. Here it says still 96,000, but today we are actually over 99,000 data records. So this is a slide from a few weeks ago, but the database is growing enormously, and you see we are today already over 22,000 records from poultry farms. These are not in the 22,000 different farms, because sometimes you have farms that are using the system repeatedly, several times over time to assess that improvement. But we have a lot of data on biosecurity. Also in a large number of countries within Europe, we see that that the system is used a lot, and that its system has even become part of the legislation, that farmers and veterinarians have to use the system to assess the biosecurity. So we work based on the user input that then you generate this report, and based on that report, you can start doing advising, coaching towards the farmers for improving their biosecurity. And then we get in this circle of improvement. So you measure, give advices on improvement, you support the implementation of the improvements, and then you can measure again. And you can go through this cycle of improvements a couple of times, and by this, gradually, step by step, you will improve the level of biosecurity of the farms. So with this, I've explained you a little bit on the principles of biosecurity. I've explained you a tool that you can use for free to assess, evaluate your biosecurity. In the last part of my presentation, I want to highlight a bit, I want to focus on the effects of better biosecurity. To what extent is this translated into better productivity, and especially also the focus here on reduction of antimicrobial usage. So the idea is that better biosecurity leads to lower antimicrobial usage, and of course, lower antimicrobial usage leads to lower antimicrobial resistance. I will not focus on the resistance because, I will go a step earlier on the usage, but it is beyond debate that the biggest driver for antimicrobial resistance is the usage of antibiotics, the antimicrobial use. So what do we have to do if we want to reduce antimicrobial resistance? There was the chair also referred to a project on reduction of antimicrobial resistance. Well, the way to reduce antimicrobial resistance is use lesser antibiotics. So is to reduce the antimicrobial use. That's where you have to focus. And how can you reduce antimicrobial use? Well, that's the point here. We have studied and we also have demonstrated that the best way to reduce antimicrobial use is to improve the biosecurity. That by improving the biosecurity, you can reduce the need of antibiotics substantially. So I'm going to take you through a series of publications we've made on this. And the very first one is already more than 10 years old, 2013, and it was on pigs, but it was the very first time where we assessed biosecurity versus antimicrobial usage. This actually for this study that we developed the very first biocheck system, the prototype of the biocheck system already many years ago. And here we found that indeed, if the biosecurity, this is the x-axis, the biosecurity is going up, scores are higher, the level of antimicrobial usage is going down. That you have this negative association here, this negative correlation. It's not yet significant at this stage. We didn't have enough data to make it significant, but there was already a trend in there, which was interesting. I'm not going to show too much big data because you guys are poultry vets or poultry advisors, poultry health experts. But I just wanted to show that study because it was the very first one. Jumping to a number of poultry studies where we did the same thing, and this one is a study conducted in Bangladesh not so long ago. It's published in 2023, where we looked at antimicrobial usage and biosecurity on broiler and Sonali farms in Bangladesh. And here again, this is the above. Here we have the broiler farms, and here on the bottom we have the Sonali farms. Here again, we also have the scores of the biosecurity, and we have the antimicrobial usage, and you clearly see this negative correlation. So there is a very nice negative correlation saying that if the antimicrobial biosecurity is higher, antimicrobial usage seem to be lower. This association with the lower antimicrobial usage. This is a study done in Cameroon, a research group that used the biocheck system independently from us. So it's not my research, but a group that said, and the conclusion of their study said that the average daily weight gain, the feed conversion ratio, and mortality rate, and the production index all were statistically better in farms with good biosecurity. And also for antimicrobial usage, a trend towards reduced use in farms with good biosecurity. So again, also here, you see these positive associations. To add to this, this is a very recent publication from one of my PhD students that has been doing research in Pakistan. This is submitted to Preventive Veterinary Medicine and hopefully will soon be published. It's in the process of publication. And here again, we've seen this positive or negative association, but in reality it's positive, of course, where if the biosecurity is higher, total biosecurity, external biosecurity, internal biosecurity, the antimicrobial usage is lower. So the line is going down, and so the trend is negative, indicating that for better biosecurity, lower antimicrobial usage. And this is especially seen here in those farms that have very high biosecurity standards compared to the other in the country. And these farms, the levels of antimicrobial usage are really, really substantially lower than in the other production units. So again, showing that we do find this association. So far, I have only shown you cross-sectional studies, studies where we looked at antimicrobial usage and biosecurity at the same time. And maybe some of you have made that connotation saying, oh, cross-sectional studies, that is, we have to be careful with that because it's difficult to come up with causal relationships based on cross-sectional studies. And that's true. And that's also why we did also that intervention studies, where we really looked at the level of biosecurity, go in and improve it, and then see what happens to antimicrobial usage. And these intervention studies, they're more expensive to put in place, but the results of them are, of course, much more interesting. So the first, again, was on pigs, where we, in 1 year time, we improved the biosecurity in 60 pig farms with around 12%, mainly internal biosecurity. And we reduced the antimicrobial usage in these pig farms with over 50%, from birth to slaughter, with the antimicrobial usage in less than a year time was halved. Also in the sows and the reproduction, antimicrobial usage was reduced substantially. And at the same time, the productivity went up in this farm. So higher number of piglets per sow per year, daily weight gain went up, mortality went down. And again, you may say, yeah, we are poultry vets, we don't care about the pigs. But this was the first study. The second, we repeated this, and this time we did it in broiler farms. We had 13 broiler farms in which we improved the biosecurity scores, going up with 5 and 4% external and internal biosecurity. And also here, in less than 1 year time, we had a very substantial reduction of the antimicrobial usage. To show you that it really works, and we've repeatedly shown that it works. This is another study, more recent, where we coached Belgian and Dutch, so from the Netherlands, broiler farms to reduce the antimicrobial usage. And what did we find? We could improve the biosecurity with around 7% over time. And again, we could reduce the antimicrobial usage also with 7% on average, and no negative impacts on the production parameters. So another proof of the fact that this investment into biosecurity is paid off by a lower antimicrobial usage, and often also with an improved productivity. This recent paper was published 1 year ago, where we did a scoping review, an overview of all the literature on the question, does improved farm biosecurity reduces the need for antimicrobials in food animals? To answer that, we found 27 publications, majority coming from pigs, and then secondly, a large group from poultry, from broilers and from turkeys, and much less from cattle. Some longitudinal studies, most of them cross-sectional studies, but most important, what did we find? Well, 14 out of the 27 studies gave a clear direct association. Higher biosecurity, lower antimicrobial usage. 5 of the 27 studies said that, well, if we improve the farm management, the antimicrobial usage is reduced. And then sometimes the biosecurity and management, these terminologies are used for the same actions, actually. So we use different words, but we are referring to the same applications. So that's why we included this here as well. 2 studies also said that the coaching and awareness, if we improve the coaching and we improve the awareness that antimicrobial usage was going down. And 1 study even added economics, better biosecurity, lower antimicrobial usage, and higher economic output of the farms. So 22 out of the 27 studies, if I combine all of this, 22 out of the 27 really have shown that's over 80% has shown this association between better biosecurity and reduced antimicrobial usage. Only 5 studies could not identify this association. So based on this, I think we can conclude that now we have a substantial body of evidence on that association, and on the fact that by better biosecurity can really reduce your antimicrobial usage. Just a little other piece of information, and this is on turkey productions, on the research done together with the colleagues from the University of Montreal in Canada, where we looked at the biosecurity in turkey production by means of the biocheck, and then they quantified turkey biosecurity in turkey production. And what did they find? Well, with regard to outbreaks of highly pathogenic avian influenza, well, they had case farms, and in these case farms, the biosecurity was around 67%. They had control farms that did not break down with avian influenza, and here the biosecurity was significantly larger. It was 74%. Again, indicating that if you improve the biosecurity, you're also better protected, prevented against outbreaks such as highly pathogenic avian influenza. And with this, I want to finalize my presentation. I hope it was quite quick, a lot of information in a short period of time, but I hope I could introduce the topic to you and I created some interest in the topic. If you want to know more about biosecurity, feel free to connect to our podcast series. We have a series of podcasts on practical implementation and research on biosecurity. There's already 11. Today we launched the 11th episode of our podcast. So feel free to follow us on the podcast to get more information, or you can always contact me for more information. And with this, I want to conclude my presentation. I want to thank you for your attention. And of course, I'm also open to answer any of your questions.
So thank you very much, Professor Dr. Jereon Dewulf, for such a valuable insights and a wonderful presentation that covering biosecurity implementations in poultry sector. So now we will move to a Q&A session. I would like to invite our co-moderator, Dr. Umair Asgar, who is the Secretary General of PPS, to please carry on the chat. So before Dr. Umair, you begin, I have a question, Dr. Jereon. In your opinion, what is the most urgent biosecurity gap worldwide that must be addressed to reduce AMR risk? And furthermore, if you could recommend one global policy change to reduce AMR in poultry through biosecurity, so what would it be? Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. Unfortunately, the question, I mean, the challenge is too complex to be able to answer it with one simple solution. And a worldwide one most important biosecurity measure, I cannot give that. It really depends on the production system, the area where you are working, the circumstances. So I don't have one unique answer that fits all questions all over the world. If it would be that simple, we would have done it already a long time ago, and it would have been solved already a long time ago. So unfortunately, that's not possible. In terms of advice, what I would advise is that start evaluating the biosecurity, start measuring it. It's only by measuring it, by evaluating it, that you will find that you will get insights in what is done good, what is done poorly, and that's what you need then to improve. So that's really what I would advise you to do. Start evaluating, and based on your evaluations, you can find improvement ways to improve the biosecurity.
Thank you very much, Dr. Jereon. Now it's over to you, Dr. Umair. If anybody have a question from audience sides, please you can write your question in the chat box and raise your hand for asking directly to the speaker. Now it's over to you, Dr. Umair.
Hello everyone. Thank you so much, Dr. Sam, for giving me this opportunity to chair this Q&A session. My name is Mohammed Umair, and I'm a PhD scholar at Warsaw University of Environmental and Life Sciences, Poland. I will be coordinating today's question and answer session. We have just had an incredible, insightful presentation on biosecurity as a tool to safeguard health and reduce AMR in poultry production from our keynote speaker, Professor Dr. Jereon Dewulf. On behalf of the PPS Society, a heartfelt thank you, Professor Dewulf, for sharing your invaluable expertise with us. The topic is of critical importance to the future of our poultry production. Professor Dewulf, are you ready? Can I convey the question from our audience? Are you ready?
Yes, I'm ready.
Okay, thank you so much. Wonderful. So our first question is from Mr. Sajjad Hussain, who is asking about pathogen survival on farms. While the transmission routes are understood, could you elaborate on how long common poultry pathogens can survive in farm environment and what key factors influence their persistence?
Yes, well, again, this is a difficult question to answer in general because it really very much will depend on which pathogens we're talking about. The survival in the environment of bacteria or parasites is much longer than viruses, for instance. So it really depends on the type of pathogens we're thinking about. That there's big variation. But in general, what I can say about it is that for microorganisms to survive in the environment, what they need is to be covered, to be protected. And why and how are they covered or protected? They're covered or protected through organic material, typically manure of the animals, dirt, dust, all kinds of organic material provides coverage of the microorganisms, of the pathogens, and at the same time even provides nutrients for these microorganisms to grow. So what do we need to reduce the survival of the microorganisms in the environment? We need to reduce the amount of organic material, for instance, through cleaning and disinfection. That is what we need to do to reduce that organic material. So yeah, that would be my my answer here. I see you're talking, but you're muted.
Hello, Umair. Are you on the board?
Yeah. Sorry, I unmute. Can you hear me now?
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. So thank you so much, Professor Dewulf, for your comprehensive response. Our
Sir,
next
one,
question, our next
Sir,
question is,
Sajjad speaking, one question remains my end. I want to ask Mr. Jereon that there are 2 points with respect to biosecurity. One is the conceptual biosecurity, other one is the operational biosecurity. Can brief about it?
Yeah, well, I mean, in with regard to operational biosecurity, there's a huge amount of things to talk about that, all the different measures you have to take. So I cannot go through all these measures now in a few minutes. That takes me a couple of hours to talk about that. And for those of you that are interested, we have an online course starting very soon on biosecurity again, and this is a course with six episodes from 1.5 hours each. So in that course, we are talking for 1.5 hours about external biosecurity measures, 1.5 hours about internal biosecurity measures. So just to show, yeah, to explain that it takes you 3 hours to explain all these different measures, and even then, I haven't said everything, so I cannot, yeah, answer. If you have a specific question, I'm happy to help you, but it takes a full presentation to address all of these operational biosecurity measures.
Mr. Sajjad, I hope you got your answer. If not, we have further sessions in future, and join us for our second International Graduate Research Conference in 2026, where we will have global experts from around the world. They will present on different topics. So we will also include this biosecurity in our conference as well. So please join us in UAS, University of Veterinary and Animal Sciences. The Poultry Professional Society will host its second international conference at UAS, Lahore, Pakistan. It's over to you, Umair.
okay. So I hope Mr. Sajjad got your answer. So we will move further for our second question is from Muhammad Faisal Rafiq, who is asking about which is the better choice for disease control, investing in expensive biosecurity or relying on cheap antibiotics.
Yeah, thank you for that interesting question and honest question. It is by far better to invest into biosecurity, and I would like to contradict the idea that biosecurity is expensive. Biosecurity should not be expensive at all. Biosecurity can also be very cheap. It's about really basic measures, washing your hands, changing a pair of shoes. This is all not expensive, so it's really a wrong idea to assume that biosecurity is expensive. And moreover, those cheap antibiotics, at a certain point, they will stop working. And that is through a buildup of antimicrobial resistance. So continuously using those so-called cheap antibiotics, they really create a pressure for selecting for resistant bacteria. And in many countries, we see already highly resistant bacteria that do not respond anymore to these antibiotics. Secondly, these resistant bacteria also cause a certain risk to the human population. And so both for animal health and for human health, we really, really have to be careful by using these antibiotics. So in the long run, better biosecurity, which is not necessarily expensive, is by far the better solution than using antibiotics.
Thank you for your response, Professor Dr. Jereon. We will move further to our next question. Is from Abdul Kadir Chauhan, who is asking about what is the role of hatchery biosecurity in reducing antimicrobial use at the farm level?
That role is important, is big. And so really at the hatchery, biosecurity should be at a very high level. And we are at this stage, we do not yet have a biocheck for hatcheries, but we're working on one to have a tool that can measure biosecurity at the hatchery. And we really try to come up with that. And it's really important. And we know that if you start already with infected bullets with the young animals that already get infected at the hatchery, of course, it's difficult then to get healthy animals out of that. So, yeah, it is, can only say it's very important.
Okay, so one more question. I think there's no more question from the audience. So can I have, from my side, there is a final question. In your experience, Professor Jereon, what are the biggest barriers to implementing high-level biosecurity measures in low and middle income countries? And how can these challenges be realistically overcome in your experience, Professor?
Well, it is the challenges, the biggest challenges are at the human side. And at the one of the big challenges is already one that is or the big misunderstandings, conceptual misunderstandings, and it was raised also here in the questions, is the idea that biosecurity is expensive. And it should not be expensive. You can really go for very, very cheap but effective biosecurity measures. So what do we need to do? We need to have sufficient training, sufficient education, explanation of what good biosecurity is, and to explain that is that you don't need expensive materials or chemicals or whatever to get that into place. That is the first challenge we should overwin, and that's also why I'm happy to contribute to this type of webinar series to try to bring the message, to spread the message that biosecurity can easily be implemented.
Okay, thank you, Professor. So one more question from Dr. Mohammed Rashid. He's asking about what is the role of quarantine of farm staff in biosecurity and how many hours of minimum quarantine is needed?
It's a very good question. And well, what is most important when farm staff are getting into the farm and coming in contact with the animals is that they do three basic measures. One is change clothes. Second is change shoes, footwear. And third is wash their hands. Those are the three basic principles. And if you do those three basic principles well, so wash your hands, change your clothes, change your footwear, change your shoes, then you have reduced the risk of disease introduction, of pathogen introduction with probably 99%. If you want to go one step further, you can ask all the staff to go through the shower, preferably a walk-through shower. Then you are 100% sure that they've changed shoes and clothes and that they wash their hands. On top of that, also wash their hair and the entire body. So there's even more risk reduction. But that's enough. If you do that, there is no need to have an additional downtime or quarantine period for the staff. Sometimes people are 24 hours, 48 hours, sometimes it's even more. This is not based on scientific proof, so it's not needed. We have a very recent summary review publication that is looking into this, which will soon be submitted, so I cannot share it with you yet, but we have that information there. So all that additional measures, which indeed are expensive, and that's when you make biosecurity expensive, but it's not needed. But that is it's really something where you can easily go down a little bit.
Okay, so Professor, I think we got all the question and answer. In the concluding remarks, this concludes our question and answer session. A huge thank you once again to Professor Dr. Jereon Dewulf for his fantastic presentation and for sharing your profound knowledge with us. It was truly a valuable session with you, Professor. Thank you so much. Now the floor
My
is
pleasure.
over to Professor Sayam, Muhammad Sayam.
Thank you very much, Dr. Umair, for such a wonderful question and answer session. And a very special thanks to Professor Dr. Jereon Dewulf for such a wonderful presentation you have presented. And there is a dire need of implementing the biosecurity challenges at farm level. So I would like to invite all the participants to join our third webinar with Dr. Laura Dixon from Scotland's Rural College, UK. She will present on advancing poultry welfare, its practical insights from broiler and layer research. This webinar will be on 22nd September, that is on Monday. So the fourth webinar will be from Professor Dr. Daniel Preece from Poultry Diagnostic Research Center, the University of Georgia, USA. He will present on innovations in poultry vaccination, live attenuated strategies against bird flu. So this webinar will be our last webinar of the series, and this webinar is on 26 September 2025, that is on Friday. So once again, Professor Dr. Jereon, thank you very much. I think there are some words from Professor Dr. Kashif Salimi.
Thank you very much, Sam, and I am really thankful to Professor Jereon for this wonderful presentation and very good Q&A session by Umair. And I also really want to appreciate the efforts of the Poultry Professional Society led by Sam and his team. They are really doing a wonderful job. So I think we should join together to thank our speaker and also our management team led by Siam and Umair. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Professor Dr. Kashif Salimi, for such wonderful words. So we truly appreciate the time and effort, Dr. Jereon, you dedicated to this session. We also look forward to welcoming you in person at our second International Graduate Research Conference, that is in June 2026. So we really want you to be here in Pakistan in person with us and present your expertise with us. So once again, I would like to thank you all for joining us.